Kings play Edmonton tonight. Kings are in terrible trouble. This may cost their coach the job, Jim Hillier. We were talking about how hot the Kings were at the end of the season, and they get into the series with Edmonton, and they have them by the throat. They lead the series 2-0. They have now lost 3 in a row. And Hillier's made so many tactical mistakes. This is just not about the goaltender getting bombarded, because I will say this: the goaltending that they have gotten has been absolutely astounding. But at the end of the day, they've not done a good job. He shortened his bench. He sat his third and fourth lines at the end of games. What he had out there, the Kopitars of the world, they were gassed. He shortened his defensive pairs. He only used 4 defensemen, not all 6 in a rotation. They were gassed. He called for an instant replay challenge on goaltender interference. He took a timeout. And in the playoffs, if you take a timeout and you lose the challenge, you get a penalty. And Edmonton scored 2 goals in 10 seconds after Hillier's challenge failed. Oof. He's made so many tactical mistakes. And then here we are at the end of the day. His goaltender, Darcy Kemper, is just getting bombarded. They've allowed 93 shots in the last 2 games. 93. I spent a whole lifetime broadcasting hockey. I've never seen 93 shots in back-to-back games. That's what Edmonton has done. Edmonton is just rolling. And now they got to go into the Northlands, and they got to play in Edmonton tonight. This season might be over for the Kings by 10 o'clock tonight. Hillier might lose his job because they've had so many first-round exits. This will be the 4th year in a row they don't get through the first round. Hillier's been there as coach. It's a big issue. The Ducks, Anaheim's begun the interview process. Really interesting guy. First interview, Joel Kenville. Great player in the NHL, longtime coach, St. Louis Blues, Blackhawks, Florida. Been out of hockey 2 years. He was suspended by the NHL because of a sexual assault case involving an assistant coach while he was with the Blackhawks that he became aware of and did nothing about. It happened during the course of the playoffs. It ended up in a big lawsuit involving a former minor league player who sued the club and won. Kenville wound up getting a 2-year suspension because of his inaction of taking action when the story kind of first broke. Anyhow, Kenville has interviewed for the Ducks job. A really good hockey coach, and he's had a tough set of circumstances. That logo, that Vancouver Canuck logo with the whale, is that what you call it?
Yeah, I
the
think
orca?
So. Yeah, an orca. That's it.
Actually, that looks at the letter C.
Yeah.
Stands for chaos. Vancouver let Rick Tocchet go as head coach. A year ago this week, you and I are talking Canucks, Cinderella story team in the NHL, got to the NHL Western Conference Finals. They let him go. They had all kinds of internal problems this year. They had to trade one of their captains because he was involved in a terrible personality clash with one of their Swedish players. Their Swedish players making $11.5 million a year and doesn't show up to play, scores 15 goals this year. Wreckage of injury, especially the goaltender Thatcher Demko. Rick Tocchet's contract was up. They offered him extension. He decided not to accept it. He's on the street as a free agent. Tocchet was really universally liked. He's a former player who knows how to push hot buttons of players to get them to respond. He did a hell of a job, but they had a mess of injuries, and they traded JT Miller. Prior to that, they traded one of their other top players. They're going to lose their 40-goal scorer, Brock Besser, who's a free agent this year. C, not for Canucks. C, chaos. That's just really a bad situation. The last one is about USA Hockey. We don't talk much college hockey here. We did a couple of weeks ago when Western Michigan won the NCAA Frozen Four NCAA tournament. Well, new rule goes into effect effective this summer, going towards the next fall, next hockey season, where NCAA schools can recruit players who played in the Canadian junior leagues. There's 3 leagues. There's Ontario Hockey League, Quebec Junior League, and the Western Hockey League. For years, NCAA said, no, you can't take Canadian kids because they were paid. They were paid to play for the Toronto Marlboros or the Quebec Remparts or the Portland Winterhawks. They got a stipend, a cost of living stipend. In essence, they were, quote, pros. Well, obviously, NIL has changed everything. So they put into because of the lawsuit, they opened the window that now NCAA schools, the Cornells and the Boston Universities, whomever, can recruit kids that are playing in the Canadian Junior League. It's going to open up the window for Canadian clubs to come here. All of a sudden, USA Hockey says, wait a minute, you're going to allow this. You're going to give scholarships and NIL money to all these Canadian kids. What are you going to do to the American high school kid and the American player, the college kid here? They're going to be out of a roster spot. They're going to be out of jobs. And they said, we want a cap. So USA Hockey this week filed paperwork imploring, and maybe it's going to wind up in a lawsuit too, imploring the NCAA, all right, you're going to allow the players from the Canadian junior leagues to come in and the players from Sweden and Finland and Scandinavia to come. We need you to cap how many each school can have. I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if that's foul, but that's what's going on because they're trying to protect the chance that my kid can play at Notre Dame and wouldn't lose his position because all of a sudden Notre Dame's going to bring in 8 kids to play on defense or play in goal from the Canadian junior leagues. This rule opens it up for players. This rule could kill Canadian junior hockey if they start sucking all these kids across the border and giving them all scholarships, because the Canadian junior ranks has been the lifeblood of the NHL draft for decades upon decades upon decades. So, okay, John, go ahead. Your turn. Talk about the Kings. Talk about the chaos that is the Canucks. I want to talk USA Hockey. The floor is yours, and don't turn the puck over.
The USA Hockey story just reminds me of a similar debate, with immigration and H-1B visas and how many, we want to save jobs for Americans and all that. Maybe they need to build a wall along the northern border too to keep the Canadians out of America. But I do want to talk about the Kings. Going into the playoffs, we were talking about how they were red hot playing at home.
31-6-4.
Well, what the hell happened?
They were up 2-0, and they have not been able to put Edmonton away, and they let Edmonton back into it, and Edmonton has just dominated on the offensive side of the puck in the last 3 victories. I mean, he fired 93 shots on goal in 2 games. And the Kings players, they look gassed. And that goes back to Hillier not electing to continue to rotate his 4 lines and 3 pairs of defensemen and go in 2 lines against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I think I've never seen a tactical failure like this. I email with a whole bunch of hockey coaches and people, and I just asked, is Hillier's job in jeopardy? And I've had retired hockey executives say, yeah, he's going to lose his job if they lose the series. I don't see how they come back. I mean, Edmonton is playing with such confidence right now, and Edmonton's doing it with their backup goaltender. They benched Stuart Skinner, who gave up 11 goals in 2 games. They sat him down, and they got Calvin Pickard, a journeyman minor leaguer, that's kind of backstopping him, and he's not looking at a ton of rubber. So this is what Hillier did. He self-destructed, I think.
Doesn't it seem similar to what J.J. Redick did in the 4th quarter, of the last game against the Timberwolves, where he didn't really play his bench, He just kind of stuck with his starters, and they ended up, getting tired, and then they just melted in the last quarter.
Yeah, well, you're talking about game 4. He played 5 guys the entire 4th quarter, and they obviously got beat.
Yeah.
And then he comes back last night, and he doesn't play his center for the whole. He sits there. Jackson Hayes sat there next to him for the entire game, and he had announced before the game he's not playing. Well, it's the end of his career. I wouldn't freaking come back and play for that guy.
No.
But, yeah, Jim, maybe it's something to do with the air in Los Angeles. I don't know.
The Crypto.com arena.
Yeah, so that's too bad because Hillier had done a good job, and all of a sudden he's just lost his ability to make the right decision at crunch time. Yes, the players have to do it, but you got to give the players the opportunity to do it, and you can't keep sending Kopitar's line out there every 3 minutes because there's no rest time. You got 4 lines, rotate them.
Yeah, exactly.
Just absolutely stunning. Hey, you're a hockey fan. Feel free. Jump on board. You want to cross-check somebody? That's okay. We'll allow that today. We'll look the other way. Last set of